are we beginning Endgame discussion?
Okay. Yeah. My first question to you is, did you wait for the end credits scene? Because you texted me.
I did text you. So what happened was, I waited. Initial end credits, I was there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I was half not expecting to have an end credit scene because, yeah, I mean, they have successfully ended many storylines and threads with this. So I was like, why would they have an end credits? And then there's one of the guys next to me in the theater. He goes, "There's no movie, there's no end credit scene. Then why are we sitting?" And he told me also. He's like, "Hey, you should leave. There's no end credit scene." I thought about it for a while. I texted you, and then I was like, "Hold on." But for the past, I don't know how many Marvel movies, I have sat around for the end credit scene regardless. So even if there isn't, I think just for the sake of completeness and just rounding things out, I'll have a seat. And I'm like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with the credits. All of these people have worked for it. I think if there's a small way I can respect their work and kind of acknowledge them, I'll sit around and I like listening to the soundtrack. So like I enjoy the credits because they're playing the music. And so I just sat there for a while. I watched the entire credits and then I left. I don't know, like after the credits ended, if there is anything. I don't know.
It's just when the Marvel logo, the Marvel Studios logo comes in, there's like the tang, tang, tang.
Oh, okay.
Which is the hammering from the first Iron Man movie of him in the cave.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, like, cool.
Okay, I left after the credits ended, so I think I missed the logo, but that's it. I was like, I by that time, I'd realized that there would probably not be an end credits.
And which I really, really thank them for.
Yeah, because that would have seemed pretty cheap. Yeah.
Like to the point of like, yeah, we'll talk about the movie, but like, I would have really loved it if they took a 5-year hiatus from MC. Movies. They were like, okay, like this huge saga has happened. Now, like 5 years rest, or like you can do like minor, like you can do your TV shows, you can do that kind of stuff that you're doing, but like don't make a movie. But like I was like, they're not gonna stop.
That's not gonna happen.
They're like, Disney is too.
I think the only thing we can hope for is that now that there is such a variety of characters created, that the content will vary. So like the thing that we've experienced with like after like the rise with Black Panther and once they started adding other characters like Valkyrie is coming, Ragnarok. I'm hoping that they kind of branch out all of these characters. They flesh them out into like proper heroes.
I would love it if they just do like just branch out also. But if they don't all come back into one like an Avengers kind of movie where everybody comes back, you can just have like one movie where like a Guardians of the Galaxy where like cosmic people come around and like so you still break them up apart.
Yeah.
And I would love to see a lot of prequel kind of movies like just like Valkyrie. So like just have
backstory.
like a movie which is just Valkyrie and like the army which was called the Valkyries.
Right.
It's just them fighting all against Hela or something like that. Or like there would be so many stories to explore.
Yeah.
In that sense, so you could have a Spider-Man like doing something else in school, just a Peter Parker movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be called a Spider-Man movie, just a Peter Parker movie. I would love.
Okay, just brain fart. Like you got these young adult movies like with about dating, relationships and things like that. Except it's Peter Parker.
Yeah, exactly.
And like he
a coming of age movie, which is basically Peter Parker, just like a regular summer romance movie with Peter Parker. Right?
Yeah.
And like because what I really like is the fact that they have a lot of young characters now. I think they can set up young Avengers very very easily.
I think they
have Cassie, Scott Lang's daughter. They have Morgan, Iron Man's daughter. We have Hawkeye's daughter. We can also bring in the guy from Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
And you can have
Shuri.
You can have Shuri and you can have Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Because he's like 15, 16-ish.
Yeah.
So
I feel like there's a lot of things to explore. Like, so, okay, right now.
You can bring in Groot.
Dude, that's it. Just one movie of Groot.
Just Groot. That would be amazing.
I would watch that movie.
Imagine even like an origin story for Rocket. That would be crazy.
I don't know, because the mystery of Rocket has been so shrouded in the mist that I'm kind of partial to, like, you know what? I like it as the mysterious
The
past.
thing is, now that they have Disney Plus, I think they can branch out into not just having feature films. They can also do TV shows. They can do limited run like mini series. They can also do short films.
That
The
would be
go the
amazing.
Pixar way.
That would be amazing to have short films.
So imagine like a huge Avengers kind of like a big grand scale movie, and then before that you have like a short film which is like an introduction to, like, for Endgame, if they had a short film which was an origin of Captain Marvel, and then this
That would have
movie.
been perfect.
And it's all in the Disney wheelhouse anyway. Like,
Yeah,
Pixar has been
it
doing
is.
it for a
And the thing
years
is,
now.
what you don't realize is, now Fantastic Four and X-Men are
That is
also
also
on the,
in there, so they can
on
do
the battle
whatever the
plane.
hell they want.
So the thing is, like, now I'm getting all these ideas of what things could be. I feel like they really shouldn't, like you said, they really shouldn't have an ensemble movie. Again, maybe for another 10 years.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, like, it's like the whole group, say, suppose is like 30 people, like 30 characters.
Correct.
So have permutation combination, but never actually have all the 30 full cast.
Correct.
Don't actually show them on one stage, so to speak, until things get crazy, like until Thanos shows up.
Yeah, that
Analysis.
level of stuff, like Galactus shows
Yeah.
up, or like the cosmic things, cosmic
Yeah, so-
entities come in. Something big happens.
So have, like, you know, people like Peter Parker hanging out
Adam
with...
Warlock is another
They
character.
have-
They have teased it.
Yes, they have.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
There could be so many. Again, like, because to the audience, we are like comic book geeks. I haven't read as much Marvel comics. I've read, even in Marvel, I've read mostly Spider-Man and X-Men.
Okay.
A little bit of Deadpool recently. But I haven't read like anything Captain America, anything here. I think you've at least read like Civil War and stuff.
Yeah.
So you have more of a background. But I know of all these characters which can come in, and you can make such an amazing, because you can just experiment with the format, right? You can have like a bunch of short films. You can make something like Bombay Talkies. You can just have like 4 short films
Yeah.
as a film, as a feature length ticket. Like, that would be great.
You could, like, that could be like a story of New York, like, you know, Brooklyn. This is happening in Brooklyn. This is happening in Queens. Like, you know, have Daredevil, have Spider-Man, have Fantastic Four, and actually, like, this is what comics do.
Exactly.
This is exactly what comics do to the T. Like, they're just, you
And
know,
like, they're also mostly standalone, but also it helps your understanding if you know those. They're like optional readings. They're like recommended readings almost, where you have like one main arc, but that main arc is fairly small. Like, you just have like a Civil War run,
Yeah.
like Avengers, the Civil
but
War.
then you have Civil War from all of those perspectives and their
Yeah.
backgrounds. Yeah, you really blow that up.
That would be great. But again, like,
I really hope now that they have established all these people, not just the young Avengers, but even the recent Avengers, I would say.
Yeah.
I hope they carry, like, they follow through on those.
Correct.
Like, when, like, a Black Panther 2 is not necessarily maybe a superhero film, but more of a political commentary.
That would be
Like
lovely.
a king dealing with the issues of
Being
ruling.
a king. Yeah, that
I
would
mean,
be amazing.
or, like, you know, Stephen Strange getting an apprentice, and you could call it
The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
no
The Sorcerer Supreme's Apprentice. The Master of the Mystic Arts Apprentice. Industrial Internship too. Damn it. You could do a lot of things.
So, I'm, now that you've kind of put this thing in my head, I'm looking forward to it a lot. I hope that they go ahead with all these things.
Short films, anthologies would work amazingly for comic books. And I'm hoping because of course superhero movies are not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I really hope that one day I get to even if it's not like an Avengers level movie, I at least get to make a short film for them or a TV show for them. That would be amazing. That would be the dream. Lovely. Even if you have just the cosmics or you can just bring in anything. Just take any character from any comic book, any Marvel comic book ever. Just the Adam Warlock story or the other, or you can do it the character that Stanley's supposed to be. He's what's his name? Shit.
Hold on, which?
No, Stanley. The fan theory of Stanley's the
observer.
The observer, the overseer, something like that. Anyway, he's supposed to be this character who is
who's aware of the
who roams all around the multiverse and just sees things happening.
Yeah.
And so he's in all these movies. So even if they do it an animated Stanley movie, which is just him going to this movie and then that movie, and then these would be the Easter eggs. He goes to the as a FedEx man of that would be amazing movies to watch.
That would be nice. For me, I would get behind a movie for Korg. I'm sorry, that character is something special for me.
Yeah.
I would watch straight up 90 minutes of that guy just talking his way out of
a TV show called The Sweet Life of Korg and Meek.
No, The Revolution by Korg, as narrated by Korg.
That would be nice.
That's it. There's nothing else. So, and there's so many things to it.
I'm imagining a feature-length movie about Korg and the Revolution, and 10 minutes of him just
Printing pamphlets.
It's your printer ran out of ink. He's okay, this is it.
Sir, I think your power's off. It's not printing. That would be nice. And a short thing with the Grandmaster.
Mm-hmm.
You can see his whole shindig, his operation. You know what goes on there. Or anyway, I think we're just world building too much. But there is a lot
they should be doing. Kevin Feige, please take these ideas.
I just hope that whatever happens here onwards, I don't like seeing the bitter Star Wars fans who love the initial 3 movies and then they really despise the second trilogy, the prequel trilogy. I don't want to end up like them. So I hope whatever material gets made is good, I think, very subjectively speaking, because
I think we'll know fairly soon because the Spider-Man movie will come out in July or August.
The weird part is, I think even right now, so over the past couple of years, my Marvel movie watching has kind of decreased, and in general my interest for comics has reduced to the point where earlier I used to go and read up on a certain topic. So if it's the Infinity Stones, what are they, how do they work, or what happened in the comics, I'd read those comics. Now I don't feel that. So even when Endgame was coming, I'm sure you could find information about it and theories and stuff. After a point, I just kind of switched off. And today I was going to the movie, I was I didn't realize the scale. At the end of the movie, it kind of hit me that I flashed back to the first time I'd watched Iron Man, and then through the years how I have kind of grown up with it and how long it's actually been.
Correct.
But otherwise, for me, mentally, I think I'm wrapping up my Marvel interest.
I feel there's a this would be the real phase 2 of their thing because
yes,
this is where they actually start to innovate, and if they don't innovate, I don't think they'll prosper. But even if it's hits and misses, even then I feel if they can just put out a huge amount of content, so you can still have 30 good things, just short films and TV shows and feature films, which could still then make up a big chunk of my sort of geeky interests.
I think for me, I think the appetite has just reduced to the point.
Okay.
So for me, mentally, I've kind of checked off Marvel. You know what? Watched it for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
From now on and off, maybe I'll go see a movie if there's like good reviews and like somebody really recommends it to me, or I just feel like I really like that character, so I want to see it.
But I think this would be a good point to step off.
Exactly. And so you finally have an exit.
You have closure. You have catharsis.
Yeah. So I'm getting off the highway, the Marvel highway, and I really don't think I'm gonna get back on again.
Okay.
But still, I am interested in all those things we discussed. The Disney Plus thing, the short stories, short films, the TV shows. They tickle my brain. Not necessarily that I would go watch. So because I haven't seen Daredevil, the TV show.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Punisher. I haven't seen any of those. So there's Iron Fist, I think, Luke Cage.
There was Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like I've seen like a little bit of, I think I've seen like 2.5 seasons of it.
Same. I watched a little bit.
I also was in the same camp. I was like, when Infinity War came, I was like, okay, this is a nice place. Like, I don't mind if the movie just ended here.
Neither did I. I was actually kind of surprised. I was not sure of how good Endgame would be because Infinity War had an excellent ending.
Right.
Although it's shocking and whatnot, it's after a point, if you think about it, it's actually a very nice clean slate to begin with. Which would allow the future stories to be very good.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of skeptical.
There's a lot of issues that I have that I want to talk about. They're not like issues, like they're not particularly like gripes that I have with the movie, because on a whole, it is very, very satisfying. And it is the catharsis that I was waiting for. And also for the first time, it feels like a cosmic war and not like a skirmish, which is incredible that they could actually show that. So again, like the clear markers. So the movie is basically split in 3 chapters almost. So you have the first where it's the aftermath of the snap, the leftovers, the rapture almost. So anyways, there's a lot of stuff there. And I really like the way they showed the first scene itself with Hawkeye.
First scene with Hawkeye, right? The first
scene with Hawkeye, and I love the fact that they didn't they did it old school. Like there was no CGI in that scene.
Yeah.
Like you just turn there and like you turn away and you come back and they're gone.
Yeah.
So that was amazing to see because they actually did that, and it also built up the tension a lot. And because he was sort of out of the loop of what was happening, right? So that was very here, and it was very emotional again. So that was again the one moment where you see what is at stake. The regular life was at stake.
Right.
But again, I would have loved to see more of that. But it was like a very, very nice moment to start off the film. And then it wallows in that sort of somber area for a long time. I think almost the first hour it keeps doing that. In that, you just see these guys sort of reeling from the loss. So there's very, very nice moments. You see Thor just give up on everything. And I remember just like watching all of these movies and I was like, Chris Hemsworth. Wow. Like just his body is like, he is a god, and in this movie he's just a god on vacation. And like it's amazing. There's like a shirtless scene and he just has a beer belly and everything.
That's so lit.
What I love is the fact that Chris Hemsworth is like, I'm gonna do this, and we're actually gonna do this, and it is extremely funny. So I really like what they've done with the character also, and so that was a very nice moment with Captain America also. I don't know how they shot that. I don't think that RDJ actually lost weight for the scene where he's supposed to be really skinny. Maybe they did something like they did for the original Captain America, that you have like a body, the face and a body double. But whatever they did, it looked amazing. that was like you can see the sort of like the deserted
Survivor,
kind
yeah.
of possibly. That was amazing. And you also the relationship that he and Nebula have of them sort of still joking around and all that. That was quite
I
nice.
really like the finger football thing because we used to play that in school.
Mhm.
And literally it was the same environment when you have nothing to do, and like again I can say that time the phones weren't that prevalent,
Correct.
so we weren't used to going to the phone for things.
Mhm.
So we had like rubber band and paper football. So paper football for me, like I remember other people teaching me paper football, and then us playing it and him teaching. That was an excellent moment for me. It was a very nice flashback.
There was also, I really like the moment where Cap starts a support group,
That was good.
which was I think it was great foreshadowing for him and Sam to change roles, because in Winter Soldier he has like he's a veteran, so
Right.
he has a support group
Right.
for veterans, and they're sort of he's helping through his positivity help them, and in this movie. Captain America Steve Rogers is basically doing all of that,
Yep.
and later on he gives his mantle to the Sam, which is quite a nice, very poetic way of it
Yeah.
happening. And also, like you see his righteousness and his pure hope sort of being put to use. Also, that was Joe Russo. Did you get that?
Yep.
That was Joe Russo,
Yep.
and apparently he was the first openly gay character in the MCU.
Yeah, for a
He
second.
talks about him
he's
just
dating
like,
a guy. Yeah.
yeah, and like just there, it was nice to see again. Like this is what I wanted: civilians, and like them just talking about regular life. That through all of this, they're still trying to live a regular life,
Right.
which I think again like is very impactful. So I would love to see more of that. Even if they did like later on, if they did a TV show of like what happened in this 5-year stretch and stuff, which is like they jump 5 years, which is also
Yeah.
quite cool.
I like the fact that the initial thing, Captain Marvel is like, I'm going to kill Thanos. It literally was that easy. And I mean, from the trailers, I kind of figured that some kind of a thing would happen, something similar would happen. But they go and they kill him.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it because again, it rounded things out very nicely. Not only it doesn't leave any open ends. Like
Correct.
they're still in the same situation, but there is no path forward. They have hit a brick wall. He destroyed the stones, and they killed him.
They've
So
avenged it almost.
there is no way forward.
And that hopelessness you see in the way just Thor just walks away out of focus.
And then
That
you
moment was
see
very,
it
very sad.
in the 5 years later thing when he's chilling out, the big Lebowski face. But it's really nice because I think it capped off Infinity War more than anything else.
Yeah.
Rather than beginning Endgame, it capped off Infinity War, and you have a very strong marker. You are faced with an impossible situation. What do? Go. And then it begins, and I love the build up, like how it slowly starts with Scott Lang coming back. The memorial at Golden Gate Bridge was very nice. I liked it. Then him meeting Cassie, I would have liked to see a little bit more, like perhaps a short conversation between him and her, where they're just sitting down and talking about it in the living room, just 2 minutes or something. But alright, I mean, ठीक है.
Also, you get two new characters from Community.
Yes, Ken
And
Jeong.
Ken Jeong plays a security guard, which is amazing. Which is like the greatest Easter egg ever.
I believe I was the only one in the theater who cheered for Ken Jeong, and I'm sure nobody understood why I was cheering for a security guard.
that was amazing. And he doesn't even have a single line.
He doesn't.
He
I
doesn't say
was hoping when he's walking out of the garage, like the guy in the back, like the security guard comes out, like, "Hey, what was that?" Or like he'll say something.
Yeah.
But no, and surely the second
Yeah.
Easter egg. I thought after I saw her, I was like, are all of the characters hidden somewhere on the scenes? I'm like, that would be nice.
Some of them have been before, no? Like Donnie Glover was in
Spider-Man.
Danny Pudi was in Winter Soldier.
Really?
Yeah. He was one of the Shield people.
Technicians.
So he was there like one shot, and Jim Rash was in Iron Man 3.
I think.
Civil War, where he does the MIT thing, where he does back in the past kind of gig, and then he walks off.
Yeah.
So that's Jim Rash. The only people they don't have anymore is Joel McHale, Annie,
And Britta.
and Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
Pierce. But that's cool. I mean, the Russos are bringing. I'm very happy. I love the Russos for that.
I enjoyed that. So yeah, Scott Lang comes back. I didn't get whether he sees Hope's name in the memorial or not. Does he find a name?
No. He finds his own name.
He finds his own name. That's okay.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
see, because some parts of like the entire movie for me, I think they jumped and they had us assume things. I think mostly because
I think
of
what
the
they
length
ended up
issue
showing is because I think it was the names were there by family. So I think it was like he saw only his name. So maybe his daughter was not there. So Cassie Lang, I'm guessing, was not in it. So he was like, okay, I'll rush home. And
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's not what I'm worried about. After he finds Cassie, right? What's the motivation for him is that Hope is gone and Hank Pym is gone, and that motivation pushes him is like, okay, this is my experience in the quantum realm. I need to tell these guys this is a possible thing. But as a person, his emotional investment was Hope primarily.
Correct.
It was not Cassie, which I thought it would be. It turned out to be Hope. But like again, it pops up in a few other places in this movie. You had to piece it together.
Correct.
Like I thought if they could have shown him finding her name on the list, then that
But I'm
makes
guessing he already knows that she's the three of them have turned to dust because they didn't bring him back.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just didn't see the moment
Him
where
realizing
it clicks
correct.
that Hope is gone, and that is like, okay, I need to do something. I need to move things together. I need to start doing something to make it happen that she's back or whatever to make things happen. Basically, what's his motivation for going from San Francisco to New York to the Avengers? It's Hope, and he says that when he's explaining it to Captain America and Natasha. So he says it that we can get Hope back, but at that point it clicked. The whole chain of events where he's like, oh my god, Hope is back. Hope is gone. We need to get her back. I need the Avengers' help.
Right.
So that's the whole thing. And that was alright. I liked the little discussion. Like, it took me a little bit of time to understand the discussion between Rhodey and Natasha that he's talking about Clint. The Ronin thing.
Yeah.
I liked the Ronin character.
I love the cinematography in that part. That reminded me of
It
Skyfall.
was like a one scene where...
And it was because it just had like the neon lights in the background.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that scene in Skyfall, I think, where again like great cinematography. So I think it was taking some cues from there or some other movie set in like those kinds of areas. But very, very nice. Like you actually see those colors pop and like just all the red light on his face and all that. Like he's seeing red. Also the actor is the guy from Wolverine.
Yep.
So
I had a brief moment of like, haven't we been here before?
Like, is it? For a moment, I was like, is it the same guy? Is it like an alternate dimension? Maybe Wolverine is hanging out somewhere in the background and he goes like, go fuck yourself or something like that. That would be cool. But that was good. I liked his character arc also because it also gave him time to do that. And even after losing everything, he's just on a killing spree, but he's killing the bad guys.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool. I like that. What else? Professor Hulk?
Hold on. Before that, so they figure out the time thing, and then they're like, we need to run this by Tony, obviously. And then you learn about Morgan Stark and the helmet thing, call back to Iron Man 2. I really like the fact that Tony just said no. I kind of didn't. I mean, I think stays too true to his character, but I didn't like the thing where he's still working on it even though he's told him, I'm out.
Correct.
I feel like by that point he's had enough of a character change that he's got enough skin in the game that he's not even bothered. Like, this is it, guys, and he's very upfront about it to them. He's like, you guys are welcome to for lunch if you don't talk shop or something. He says something. I was like, this is a very nice change of pace, because you can see that he had a kid. He's got completely different priorities.
Yeah, correct.
But then he's still working on the problem. I kind of hope they would have a different way to get to the point.
Maybe he was trying to solve a problem for them so that they can go and figure it out. That was my original thought. And then after the conversation he has with Potts, and she's like, I know that you can't give this up.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be involved in that. So then I think then he also accepts that, yeah, maybe I do have to go back and...
But I was kind of disappointed. I was hoping that he would say no and actually be out of the whole thing, until the point they're like, okay, you know what, we have figured it out. And the thing is, we need you to step in because we were one man down or something like that.
I think it's also the moment he sees Peter Parker in that picture. That's what tips the scales for him.
Oh, okay. Right.
He sees Peter Parker and he's like this boy.
Right.
So it's almost like he lost his son.
Correct.
So
right.
That's a nice
That's
moment.
the motivation.
Correct. So
but yeah, good. Then they go to Professor Hulk after Tony. I was happy with that because all of these things were kind of anticipated since, I don't know, Ragnarok or something. So I'm happy that they kind of answered some of the things up front in the very beginning. Like, Professor Hulk is just who he is. That was not a Deus Ex Machina where, last minute they finally resolve their issues to become one Hulk, like Super Saiyan, and that's how they win the day because Bruce and Hulk sort things out. No.
But it felt also like maybe it sort of answers itself, but it's also about how like he's always struggled with the duality,
right?
And he's never been able to reconcile. And in Infinity War, especially, Hulk just says no.
Yeah.
And then what does he have to go through to get them to reconcile? But I think the answer lies in the fact that he just has time.
Yeah.
And he's not fighting a war where he has to turn into Hulk. So he can experiment and he can try different things. So he doesn't have to lose much. So he's just experimenting and gets on with it. That was also quite funny, that exchange there.
That was nice. It was kind of reminiscent of Ant-Man. Like the kind of quick dialogue and the fast shifting of opinions. That was okay. I mean,
what happened to Louise though?
When he says time heist, I was like, okay, the gang's coming back.
Yeah.
I was hoping that at least somebody would be there, but alright. As far as recurring characters go, I think my top 3 recurring characters, top 2 at least, were completely satisfied, which for me was the Ancient One and Korg.
Okay.
So they were both there. I think 3 I could say because Valkyrie is my third expected character. So I was like, yeah, they got those. They talk to Bruce Banner. Tony Stark figures out the solution to time travel. I just loved the Tony Stark at home scenes.
Yeah.
For the same reason I loved the Hawkeye at home scenes.
Which is the same as why I love the Ant-Man at home scenes.
Yeah. All civilian life.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they figure it out and then they start the testing with Scott Lang, then
Barton comes in.
Yeah, and then between this, they go and recruit Thor and Hawkeye. New Asgard, I was like, okay.
Oh, by the way, I've seen a lot of like spoiler reviews and stuff like that. Nobody has mentioned the fact. Everybody's like, where is it? I think it's the same city where the Tesseract is in the beginning of Captain America. Like in Norway. If you remember Captain America, the first scene where Red Skull, this is in 1940s or something.
Okay.
Red Skull goes to this place in Norway, and it's this old church kind of place.
Yep.
And there's Yggdrasil on one wall.
Yep.
And he opens that and he gets the thing. I think that's it's T Tonsul or something like that. It's like a city in Norway, and I think that's where they bring New Asgard. Because I'm guessing because the Tesseract was there, it holds like significance in the Norse mythology or whatever.
Right.
So I think that's where it is. It's not like someplace somewhere else.
Oh, okay. Because I thought so initially. I thought
Which also adds up to Thor Ragnarok, where Odin says this is where you can start again or something.
Right, he does. That's what I thought. But at the end, I felt like maybe that was Scotland.
That's what I heard from a lot of people, but like because just the name on the sign
they
also
shot in Scotland, I think.
Probably,
Yeah.
but like the sign also has like just the
Characters.
The characters are not from.
Yeah, Norway makes a lot more sense actually.
I think it's the city. I think I have to go back and watch. First one. Just like bits and pieces. I have a lot of issues of that sort, just to match things up. But also, I think I need to watch Endgame again because there's a bunch of stuff which sort of takes, because there's a lot that happens.
There is a lot.
Especially the different team ups. So they go back in time. They go to these different times. So again, like there, I have certain issues. Like you can always find a better pairing, grouping, but sending two civilians, fairly like non-superhero people, to the Soulstone place, to Vormir, felt like a bit of a setup. So like you don't feel too bad if you lose, or you don't feel too underpowered if one of them dies.
Yeah.
There was like Barton and Black Widow. Like either of them dies, you don't lose like a big hitter.
Yeah.
Like if it was like Thor or somebody who has to be sacrificed, like then it didn't work out.
Yeah.
So that would have been like very weird.
I was actually thinking about it. Like, what if they had sent one person to Vormir?
Exactly.
What if one guy goes? What's gonna happen then?
Yeah.
So I mean, alright.
If Thor went, he'd probably throw Mjolnir down. He'd be like, this is the thing I love the most.
No, he'd probably take like the current Thor would probably like get his bottle and look at his bottle of beer and be like, I love you. And just let it go. I think Red Skull would have to take that. Like, yep, that's legit.
Yeah.
No.
That is true love, my friend.
Red Skull pulls a red card, be like, bro, you can't do that here. Get out of here with that shit.
I think also the lines that he delivers are all like word for word from Infinity War.
Yeah, because he's the guardian of the stone. So
And he has no character. He's just a tape.
He's an NPC.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so even there, like I had, so that was one thing. Also, sending Nebula to Morag.
Mm-hmm.
So that place, along with who? So again, like because they're split up in these new permutations and combinations, it's a little, because I saw it 2 days ago, so I don't remember exactly who went where and what.
Yeah. Okay, I can refresh your memory for that.
So it was
let's do it stone wise.
okay.
So 3 stones in New York, which is space, mind, and time. Then Soulstone on Vormir.
Yeah.
Ether on Asgard. That's 5.
And Morag.
Morag is the power stone. Okay. So the 3 people, and then they split like 3 people, 3 stones for New York. So which is
Hulk for time.
Yeah, Hulk for time, Captain America for the mind, and Tony for the space.
And Ant-Man. Ant-Man goes with Tony for the first part.
Okay, sure. Yeah, actually, it's
Scott goes with Tony.
Those 3 for the first 2 stones, and Hulk goes alone for the time stone. There's Natasha and Clint for the Soul Stone. Rhodey and I'm going blank. What's Gamora's sister's name?
Nebula.
Yeah.
They go to Morag.
Morag for the power stone. And Thor and Rocket. I was going to say Raccoon. Close. For the ether. So, yeah.
And Black Widow and Hawkeye go for
So, that's the breakdown. Successful recovery of Mind Stone relatively easily.
Captain America versus Captain America.
So, before that, the elevator scene with Romulo and the hydrator.
Yeah.
I was like, that paid off so well.
Yeah.
Because So you know the entire fight sequence, what's gonna happen. You literally know the future. And the way he handles it diplomatically, I was like, yes, there is a wise man. Like, you can see the age on him. Like, simply whispering "Hail Hydra," he's walking with the briefcase. I love that, and I feel like it was set up from Winter Soldier.
So now I have some issues with time. Okay, just the way they have handled time in the movie. Okay. So in that instance, they are back in the time of Avengers.
Yes.
Okay? So this is before Winter Soldier.
Correct.
Okay. And this guy says Hail Hydra.
Yes.
So Ramulo knows that he's a Hydra agent, or at least thinks that Captain America is a Hydra agent.
Correct.
And then if Winter Soldier happens,
okay, so
then
I will recommend
that does make
I will recommend to not go for continuity between this movie and the ones that came after the point where they did the time insertions, because except for the one discussion with the ancient one that Bruce Banner has, where he actually like, you know what,
I don't think I got it entirely, because like I've seen a lot of different ways time has been played out.
Yeah.
But I don't know which one they're actually using, or if it's neither, or if there are loopholes.
There are loopholes.
Maybe this could be a setup for the multiverse of okay, that was in a different universe or whatever.
Maybe.
I do have to definitely watch it again, because that was one moment where Captain America, there was also the whole thing with Nebula and what was happening.
Yes.
There's also a bigger question of Thanos. If Thanos is killed here, how does he come back to life and do the things and get the stone and do the snap thingy? So I don't know how all of that works out, how Nebula's arc works out, how Gamora's works out now that she knows that she's going to fall in love with Peter Quill. All those like time stuff, I have a lot of questions.
I think let's get to the time stuff at a later stage.
Because
the thing is that
it warrants a second watch. Maybe after watching Endgame again, maybe we should go again and watch it in IMAX, and then we should.
But I thought over it this afternoon, and there are like the basic obvious time problems you're thinking about, and there are some other ones also. So okay, so for example, I'll tell you this. Between like Loki gets the space stone, right?
Yeah, he gets a tesseract.
He disappears. Yeah. But when Thor goes to Asgard, Loki's in prison. How? Right. So I mean, those kinds of questions.
And who does he take to Asgard? Because that's the end of the Avengers. He goes to Asgard with Loki. What has Loki done?
I mean, like it sets up a lot more things later on as well.
Yeah.
So let's put those aside right now. The paradoxes, because I think that's like a rabbit hole in and of itself. But assuming that the thing checks out, like, you know, assuming that they insert the stones back into their time and place wherever they took it out, and assuming that creates no ripple. So let's just accept that as what happens and go on, because there are other things.
Okay, so before we accept and move on, how does the giving back the soul stone work? Do you get a soul for a soul, and does Black Widow come back to life?
Yeah, I think
that should have been the case, because if it's a soul for a soul, you can't just give a soul.
Yeah, I feel like they keep the soul stone probably because they can't give it back.
Or they just give back the soul stone.
I think it's like a one-time purchase thing.
Again, like some minor.
Okay, again, hold on.
Okay, that's.
You're going into post-Endgame storylines.
Okay, let's come back to where we are.
Collecting the stones.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be a pretty simple ordeal, and you know, they insert a little bit of shenanigans in between, and like, okay, that's fine. The part where they start giving Thanos direct feed to the thing, I was like, that's an amazing move. It checks out, and
you remember in Infinity War, he says, "You are not the only one burdened with knowledge."
Yes, he does say that.
And he knows Tony Stark.
Yes, he does.
Interesting.
Curious. Point to be discussed. So, they... okay, I didn't get some of the... why they did things in a certain way. But they recover the Mind Stone. Captain America versus Captain America. There was a there was a very comic booky moment.
Yeah.
Like the future
correct,
and the
correct.
past, like yeah. So that then Bruce
See,
gets
again, my the superhero moment question that I used to have when I watched this movie, I was like, Russos have read my mind, and they're like, he will give you all the hero moments you want, because I saw like Captain America versus Captain America and the Shield against the Shield, and
Yes.
I was like, this is a cover, like this is amazing.
okay. So here I would say that the superhero moment definition warrants because I was like, this is a moment. I just wish, like Civil War, they'd paused it, like for a fraction of a second, where they just hit their shields, just slow it down, just let me just breathe in the moment, just enjoy what's happening,
Correct.
and then get back to the action. Just turn it back for a few seconds, dial it down, because I wanted to see that, like, oh my god, this is crazy, this is happening. So I think I have this issue with a lot of other scenes in the movie as well. So we'll address those as and when. I liked the reasoning with the ancient one. I felt like that was some solid logic there.
Correct.
Anyway, let's not get into that. But so he gets those stones, 2 stones down. They get those sorted. I really liked how they resolved the space stone issue.
Yeah.
So you get a hitch. How do you solve that? And then when they started discussing that Pym particles thing, I thought they would go for the World Fair from Iron Man 2,
Okay.
where where Howard Stark was there, and I guess like if Hank Pym is such a
He would have been
big
there.
shot, scientist thing, like that's where he would be.
But he needed the stones, right? He didn't need the people.
Yeah, but I figured by then, because Captain America, Howard Stark finds the Tesseract in the bottom of the ocean.
Correct, but it's kept in the shield facility
Vault.
where it is.
Right.
But I think in Ant-Man 2 or in Ant-Man 1, I think in Ant-Man 2, Hank Pym tells Scott Lang of how he doesn't trust the Starks.
Yeah.
And like that reason. So that was there in that movie, which is put together. So it's like, okay, so
they interact at some point.
Yeah, they interact and they're in the same place, so they have both the things in the same place. What I really liked is, like for a moment, it didn't hit me that they're looking for Hank Pym because of the Pym particles. I was expecting that because they only have like enough Pym particles for one person. I was thinking one of them was going to sacrifice themselves and just going to stay in that reality.
Okay.
And so like they had 2 bottles,
Right.
and so maybe I was thinking like Steve Rogers will stay there. Tony will take the 2 bottles, go to that time,
Yeah.
like use up one in that process and use up one to take the Tesseract back home. That is what I thought. So I was like, okay, so like Cap is gonna die here, but so that came as a bit of a surprise to me.
That was very
It
nicely
supported my
played out.
expectations at least.
It also ties in with the Winter Soldier thing with the Arnim Zola's lab. It's the same bunker. And I wasn't expecting the Howard Stark interaction.
Yeah.
I felt, and that was nice because Howard Stark has played a role in the movie since Iron Man 2.
Okay.
Right? So you know what relationship Tony had with his father, with himself, and those kinds of things. And now you see it being mirrored where Tony himself is a father talking to another father figure. I really like that interaction and the kind of the jitters that you see. That was nice. But
Even when he hugs it, that was such a nice moment. Thank you for everything that you've done for the country.
that was a nice dialogue. So, but that happens, that checks out. And then, what happened after it? So they go back. They get the Pym particles, they get the Space Stone mission accomplished. They're all sorted. Soulstone, Vormir, I felt it was a little bit childish. At the same time, I felt it also made sense. Like these guys
It
know
made
each other.
perfect sense.
And I'm so happy, so very, very happy that they did kiss.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how much, like when they're having those final moments and exchanging words, and he does say that you have to lose what you love. and I'm sitting there thinking, please don't kiss, because I have never pictured their relationship as a romantic relationship. It's always been it never was, but I was just hoping it didn't turn into one. Like, hey, surprise, you know what? We liked each other from the beginning. And I was like, no. They were friends. They were the best friends, but they were friends. And like platonic love is a real thing. So that can also mean something about losing someone you love.
I think it also made sense that Barton does not die. Because
he has someone to come back to.
Yeah, and Black Widow doesn't have a family to come back to.
Yeah.
So it made proper sense. It made complete sense.
Even I agreed with that final decision of hers that it shouldn't be him who dies. But so that happens. Soul Stone recovered. That's sorted. Power Stone. I was kind of I like the fact that they begin with Quill dancing, because I don't know, I just like that. And they show the silent part where it's like, that's a crazy guy. But I feel like they could have let him take the stone and then robbed him. They didn't have to get it themselves. But then you see the morality of Nebula or whatever, where she stares at her hand like she's no longer herself and she's like machine and all that.
They could have no. They couldn't take it later, because the thing is, he gets into a chase directly.
The people from Ronin.
Yeah, so those guys come in
directly. Right. Okay, makes sense. Alright. And then Nebula gets left behind. Rhodey recovers the stone.
Yes.
What I didn't realize, which I realized like in the first do-over, like in the movie I didn't realize that, later on I got to know. They capture Nebula, and you know she takes her golden plate. Yeah, her plate. And she asks Thanos, how do I look? That was not a superficial thing. Because she takes her time travel thingy and she uses it. So when everyone comes back, Nebula is with them. I didn't even register because I'm just looking at the heads and I'm like, is every stone there? So I was counting the stones and the people. So I did that calculation. But when later on Nebula is betraying them and like helping Thanos come, I was like, when did she arrive? And because initially I thought that Nebula didn't come back with them and she came back later. But because time doesn't work like space, she came back with them. But the Nebula that came back was the traitorous Thanos serving.
Correct.
So yeah, that hit me later. That was a nice little realization. They get the stones back, and they give a moment to remembering Natasha. Like I think they did that memory, like her memory justice.
Where Banner throws the thing.
The bench thing. Yeah. And then they get right down to business. I was surprised. Like I thought that it would take more time for them to build the gauntlet, but they get it done.
Because nanotechnology that Stark has is as good as
Nidavellir. I was kind of skeptical, but I was
like, again, like it's like Tony Stark basically at this point has magic.
Yes.
Like, and especially his nanotech suit particles can do anything.
I mean, maybe if they had shown like, I don't know, Benedict Wong coming into like consult, maybe.
Could have been.
Like he understands like the mythos of the stones.
Did he die?
I don't know.
Does he die? He just disappears.
Yeah, he goes away.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they make the thing, and I'm thinking he doesn't even get to snap. But in retrospect, he had to snap because the cavalry must arrive, and the big scene must happen. So he snaps. The good part of it, I think, the Loki, Lowkey, Loki thing that they do, is that they don't show anyone else except Laura calling.
Yeah.
So you have proof that everyone came back.
Yeah.
But they don't show like Black Panther or Doctor Strange, or they don't have any other people.
Correct.
Which is very nice when you have the final, curtain rises and the cast.
Where if I must, I have another time travel quibble with you. With the movie. just a tiny thing.
Okay.
Because the thing is, I don't understand. Is it like snap 1 and people disappear, and snap 2 they come back? Or is it after the 20 days or so that have happened, that have passed?
Yes.
After that, Snap 2 comes into effect? Or is it actually 5 years later is the Snap 2 comes into effect? So does the Snap 2 undo those things retrospectively or in that moment?
In that moment. So 5 years later, the moment Hulk snaps his fingers, at that moment
everybody comes back to it.
Everyone is restored to the moment they were snapped to.
Correct.
So to the moment, as in to the space they were snapped to, but the time is 5 years later.
Right.
So the time is right now, the moment of snappage, you could say.
Right.
But the space, the position is whatever they were in.
That makes sense.
I mean, again, discrepancies aside, like people who were flying on a plane from New York to London, like the plane was moving. Like, let's not get into that.
No.
So the team collects the stones.
Yeah.
And they make the gauntlet, and then
again the gauntlet works perfectly as a gauntlet because it's Stark's.
It's Stark technology. Yeah. Why not? I'm a little unhappy with it. I mean, with the effort that it took to, Eitri the dwarf and what he paid for making a gauntlet.
Yeah.
It seems like there is technology on Earth which is just equivalent to Nidavellir.
Yeah. I mean, you either need the power of a dying star or a Stark.
Either of those work.
Yeah.
Apparently.
They're just perfect. But I don't, I feel that sort of takes away a little bit from the novelty of the gauntlet itself. Or like the fact that it was made on Nidavellir. And it also sort of takes it away from Mjolnir and then Stormbreaker also.
Basically all
the
weapons,
big weapons. Because like they have to have something special about it. Right? Like in Game of Thrones you don't have like all swords are as good as Valyrian all of a sudden. Or all like you just have like window glass as good as dragon glass. It doesn't work that way. It has to be something special.
I agree with you, but I see why they had to do it also. So I understand. I mean,
I think they could have done a little bit of like, maybe if they had Thor sacrifice a bit and they were like, oh, we have to like melt your new axe hammer thing, Stormbreaker, into the Infinity Gauntlet Part 2.
Or maybe when Thor goes to Asgard, he just like, his mother's like, oh, you're doing this. I forgot. We have one in the attic. Your dad had it made when we lost the first one.
It's a fake, but I think it'll serve the purpose.
Yeah.
Probably because Asgardian technology is still better than Stark technology.
It is. Yeah, it's like they gave us an extra one in the box. We didn't know what to do with it. It's been in the attic. You should take it. No, it's fine.
It's like the earbud that you get out of a earphone.
Exactly.
It's like that. It's a slightly different size, but I'm sure you can find a big enough hand to fit it.
Yeah, your father uses the hand, but we don't need the gauntlet anymore.
That sounds a little bit weird. Anyway, so they make it. They put it into the gauntlet.
Yep.
The Iron Man gauntlet, and and Hulk puts it on. He does the snappy thing, and I like the fact that he says like, I was made for it. It's almost like I was made for it. So
I was happy that they didn't spend a lot of time debating. Hey, I want to just no.
And the Hulk also turns out to be useful in a big part. Because he was utter useless
in the first
in the first of the Infinity Wars.
Right.
So that is okay. We've talked about a bunch of other stuff also. So like after the snap thing, so again a bunch of my time things, time finicky questions that I have. What I came to understand from the way it was explained in the movie is that as long as you take the stones out of the timeline and then you put them back,
right,
it restores the timeline.
Correct.
right? That's how the Ancient One explains it. It's like
Correct.
one branch and you stick to it if the stones are reinserted.
Correct.
Right? So when that is done, you actually should continue in the same timeline as the other movies after that. So for example, when they do the Thor 2 stuff,
Right.
and they have, and then Cap goes and reinserts the stones back into that time, and then the rest of Thor 2, whatever happens after the stone part,
Yeah.
continues as usual, and Thor 3 happens just the way it did before. Everything else
Right.
happens perfectly exactly the same way because they have restored the timeline.
Right.
So in the bigger scheme of things, Infinity War happens, then Endgame happens. In this Earth timeline,
Right.
so Infinity War happens, a bunch of other stuff happens, then Endgame happens. Okay. So that's the 5-year gap,
Yes.
and all of that taken into consideration. So when all of that happens, then again there's these guys who have knowledge of something of the past, and then Thanos, his timeline sort of is a little weird because here he's basically dead at the end of Endgame,
That is true.
and then he has to somehow still be alive in the past to be able to get the stones again, do all the stuff that he did in Infinity War, which is very, very confusing to me.
Okay, so the thing is, like we discussed earlier, like let's ignore the paradoxes for the moment, the time paradoxes,
Okay.
because I think there's a different kind of paradox with every stone. So
Okay.
let's do those later, because I feel like ignoring that one piece of thing, I mean, it's a big deal. Like when you have time travel movies, they have like having a seamless time travel thing makes the movie amazing. Like, you know, Prisoner of Azkaban, like no
Right.
flaws, it's very nice. And the fact that they make fun of Back to the Future in the movie about time travel, which has more paradoxes about the time travel itself, feels like it warrants a lot of discussion.
Right.
But I think let's get to it after the thing, because I have a few doubts and it's a
Okay.
little bit hazy for me.
We'll get to it, but like the issue I have is I think it's trying to have its cake and eat it too. It's like we're going to make fun of all like Back to the Future and stuff and how that has paradoxes, but we don't.
Yeah.
And then it somehow has its own faults and
Yeah, that's what I felt. That's why
what I would like to believe is that they're actually setting it up as an alternate universe, or like of the Ancient One didn't actually know so much of everything, and like she was also baffled by time the way Dormammu was, where she was getting her power from.
That's
in
a
the bigger
nice
picture.
one.
So maybe she's also a little bit naive when it comes to time, because she also had, like, she hasn't used the time stone as much, or like to the extent that that the stone in itself does. Like the
Yeah.
amulet is not as powerful as the stone itself.
Right.
So I think she also doesn't understand it completely. So maybe they will actually have this set up, like the different the multiverse proper.
I think that's the.
And if they do it like that, I think then it sort of is justified. Where you have another film, so like something like a Thor 3 that is happening, like a Ragnarok is happening, but where you also have like an alternate version of the Thor 3 happening, where like something completely different is happening.
Right.
So you can have something of that sort also, which could be interesting. So they can have a Thor 3, but like from a different
Correct.
universe.
I think that's what's going on, because the explanation that they give in the movie, where the removal of the stone creates a different timeline, it all makes sense. And if you put the stone back at the same instance, it's fine, everything's okay. That makes sense too. But the thing is, like, I guess they have some issues. First of all, Thanos, like you said.
Yeah.
That I think is the biggest marker to me.
And it's not even one character, because like he does mention in Infinity War that he's burdened with knowledge. He knows of Tony Stark. He knows things like that.
Yeah.
And him being the sort of like the super villain that he is,
Right.
it's fine if he even has that paradoxical knowledge or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that his entire spaceship has it, like Nebula is there,
Right.
she exists. Gamora exists in 2 timelines.
Right.
So like they have all done time travel. So I feel it's a little weird for them to also have that knowledge, and for it to never be used later on.
I think the I think what happens is when they start messing with time, they're in a different. I think the timeline branches, and like you say, they do. I think this is the gateway to different. This is the multiverse gateway, I
Right.
guess, because it's been hinted at in Doctor Strange. She does say different universes or something like that. And the other part is, there's some huge, like, okay, forget. So for the Thanos thing, I would say, okay, what if maybe he got snapped back to his reality,
Okay.
and maybe he didn't die. Tony Stark just put him back where he came from.
Okay.
I mean, because he has the alpha and omega of the universe. He has everything. He has the time stone and space stone and everything. And maybe, he's I could argue maybe that he erased his memories because he has the mind stone, and he just put everyone back where they belong.
Okay.
That could be true. But the other thing is, more than the Thanos problem, I feel there's a Loki problem. So if you look at the Thor
Right.
scenes, Loki is in prison.
Mhm.
That makes sense because he was caught after the events of Avengers 1, and he was taken to Asgard and imprisoned. And Thor lets him out for the second one with his help with Dark Elves. But in this movie, when they fudge the Space Stone collection, Loki takes the stone and he disappears. Where does he go to first? And if he goes somewhere, who is in Asgard? Who helps them with the Dark Elves?
The question is a little bit more complicated because it's like he again, he only has the space stone. He doesn't have the time stone. So he can
doesn't.
only hop around in space.
Right.
Okay? So he hops around in space for a very short amount of time because from the Stark Tower, in whatever couple of days that it takes from there to Thor actually going back to Asgard.
Right.
So let's say it's a week. So at best they have a week, and like we don't know what happens at that time because for sure at the end of Avengers, the first part, at the end you see all of these guys in a park or someplace, and Thor has Loki with him, and he has a Tesseract,
Yeah,
and
they
he
go to
opens
Asgard.
up the Bifrost and he goes back to Asgard.
Right.
So he has a Loki. So it could be him, like he's gone around doing space stuff and come back somehow. And they've managed to recapture him,
Okay.
which seems like a big thing to omit if that had happened.
It does.
And if not, maybe he's tricked them into like maybe he's made a version of like a hologram version of himself that gets caught or something like that, till he actually comes back to the space where he's trapped. But then also it doesn't make sense. Why would he escape captivity and then still come back?
I think so. Now, like, we are going into realm of guesswork, but I think the answer to this again is all like Captain America has all the stones, right? So hypothetically, he could go back to the moment, like when Loki disappears with the space stone. He could use the stones he has. Like he has the 6 Infinity Stones. Assuming he hasn't put any of them away, he uses all of them to just track down Loki in space and time. Use his PIM particles and whatever to just fix everything, so that the fudge up doesn't happen, that the space stone remains in the suitcase.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, we saw the space, like that's the problem I have with these movies.
Exactly.
Where the post facto, it's not a seamless thing. So since it's not, even if we say that Captain America did all this stuff, we should have seen this in the original scene when there's a third Captain America just standing off to the side with a briefcase full of 6 stones, like going, "Oh wait, are you guys done?" So that kind of a thing, it would have been nice. I think a better explanation, which I like to think about, is the fact that, you know what, they screwed up. This thing happened, that thing happened, but that branched off the timelines. So it's just a different timeline. So
Okay.
the one which Thanos dies in. So the Thanos from 2014 comes to the present and the whole thing happens. He gets killed. But that isn't the Thanos that snapped originally. So once they took the stones out and everything, they changed the timeline. So that timeline is still protected. or you could say that they have deviated.
Okay.
So since they've deviated, it's okay that this Thanos doesn't go back and go around collecting the stones the way we see in Infinity War, because those are, I guess maybe you could say, Than-I from different universes.
Okay.
Please provide a
plural
for Thanos. Anyway, so I prefer to think about the parallel universe or parallel thing, whatever.
I think as long as comic books go, I think there's a precedent for like multiverse and stuff
Big
like that.
time.
So it's cool in comic books. I think in films still, like, because you brought up Prisoner of Azkaban, I really like that kind of a time paradox.
Me too.
Where like everything, because like when I remember when I was watching Prisoner of Azkaban for the first time. And that moment, like where the conch, the rock that hit, the pebble that hits him, Harry, and like you realize all of that is coming back again. It blows your mind in a different way, and I think it's more cathartic. It's more it's more satisfying than any other way of time travel. Like having multiverses or just like an infinite universe. It is like it's like okay, but it feels a little too omnipresent or omniscient to be able to jump through the exact timeline that you want. It feels like a little bit too much even for a comic book, especially when it's adapted into a movie.
It's like an easy way out, right?
Yeah, it's a very easy. It's a cop out. It's a pure cop out.
I feel that too, but the thing is, the way this story has been presented, I feel like that's the best thing that I can believe in, because if you try to construct a different scenario, like, you know, where Cap went around and he fixed everything, you know, he wiped everybody's memories and he fixed every single thing. It's like, that's way too far-fetched. And I understand he had a lifetime to do it, you know, he had lots of pim particles, and you know, he took his sweet time making sure every stone was inserted right then and there. But I feel like if it was, then like it needs to be shown in the beginning that there needs to be some, if not a direct indication, there needs to be a little bit of a hint that, you know what, like there's something going on, that you need to find a loop. If you're gonna mess with time, I feel like you kind of have to show it being put back. And since they don't, then I'm assuming it was not put back, it wasn't conserved, and it has split off. I mean, that's the only alternative that you have. Yeah, maybe you got the time stone back, maybe you got some or the other,
right?
But there's still a couple of stones that you missed, and so you have nothing. I mean, you don't protect the timeline, you have a different story going on, Thanos didn't come, he didn't snap, so it's fine. And I'm okay with that. I am okay with that explanation. So then Endgame turns out the way it did, because, you know, hey, you changed the timeline.
I would also have liked to see just life coming back, because all you see is the birds, and all you see is the phone call from
I
his
have
wife.
A question about the birds. Like, were they there before?
I don't think so.
And I can't remember if in Infinity War they had a shot with the birds on the trees. Like, okay, I get that the birds were there. It's like the Prestige thing. You show something. Yeah, you show it, you hide it, and then you bring it back. I mean, if you just bring it back, that's what happened to me in the theater. They showed the birds. I'm like, were they gone? I'm guessing they were, because they give it significant time. I mean, they give him a strong 3 seconds or something. It's like it's in your face kind of a shot, and I'm like, please give that time to something more significant, like superheroes punching super strongly.
Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, I didn't get the birds thing. What really made it for me was the phone call. So it's like, yeah, his wife is calling, so.
But I think at least if they didn't want to show any of the superheroes because you wanted to keep them for the end reveal, it's fine. But at least you could have shown the regular people coming back to life. Like just in streets, just like randomly appearing, and like because for them like nothing much has happened for them. It's just a moment. It's just a moment of it's like it's like for a 5-year stretch they don't know what they were doing, and now they're sort of reunited. They're like, oh, what is happening, and like a reverse rapture. I think that could have been very like useful moment. It would also, I think it would be a more impactful moment than the birds coming back.
That's true. But
even if there was no foreshadowing for it, even if you didn't see empty streets, even then, or even if you had a shot of like Scott Lang's house, that road where he sees the child, you could see like people just popping around in that place.
Okay, here's what I think about this. I like the fact that they didn't show anyone actually materializing, because like even the phone call, so they leave it all for the end, because even though he gets the phone call, so it's like obviously everyone's back, it has to be, but they keep that doubt in your mind that is everyone really back, and he takes the phone call. I don't remember whether he hears his wife say anything. I think he does, right?
I think he does.
She talks to him, and you can hear her voice as well.
I'm not sure of that. I think we only hear his side.
I think you can hear her voice anyway, but that's the tiniest shred of evidence that people are back. I mean, imagine if you showed just people like reappearing, like maybe Nick Fury, or like just people in the streets coming back. Then everyone would be anticipating the cavalry moment. You know, the moment where he turns around and all the heroes come charging.
Right, I agree.
Whereas in this case, I like the fact that they don't really make you think about all those things. Like you think about the fact that his wife is back and that's amazing. But the repercussions that, every single hero that was there in Wakanda is back.
Okay.
Like, things just got real.
Okay. It's holding on to a bit of
stuff. It's still holding it. And so the reappearance, not putting it up in your face, I think pays off.
Right.
Because you've forgotten. And when the next fight happens, like when the things after it happen, you suddenly get distracted by he's bombing the entire Avengers facility and everything destroyed, and the fat Thor is fighting Thanos. And you have all those amazing moments which completely make you forget the fact that people are back and there is a cavalry. Okay. Like until now there hasn't been any, there's no backup.
Okay, I concede.
I like that.
Okay, so in the fight itself, I also like the fact that like there's a smaller group. It's only like the big three guys fighting Thanos, while the rest of them are like in smaller skirmishes everywhere, just like fighting off like trolls or whatever. And it's just these guys just fighting Thanos, and like it's almost all of it is just hand-to-hand combat. There's a little bit of the Mjolnir and the hammer both moment, and then the moment where the crowd goes wild, where the captain holds the hammer. And but the thing is, I don't know why it didn't feel to me as a huge moment, like, or as huge as how much the audience reacted to it.
Okay.
Was it the same for you?
For me, I think it was, I would say, top 5 moments of the movie.
Because it was like, it's going to happen, and like no time like this time.
Yeah, it is going to happen, but the thing is, so they tease this in Age of Ultron. In one of the most relaxed, like this is a scene from the trailer.
Correct.
And you see Thor get serious for a moment as the hammer moves a little bit. And it doesn't happen. And then they
What if he was just faking it? He was like, nah, let's just leave it for the end game where it'll be a powerful moment.
I don't know about that, but it's been teased in Ultron, in the trailers of Ultron. So like everyone's expecting in Age of Ultron, you know what? Captain America uses the hammer. Never happened. Like Vision picked up the hammer.
Right.
Vision.
But see, that moment was very powerful because in that movie itself, like it was like a competition. Like these guys are like, it's like the Excalibur moment.
Exactly.
And then like nobody's actually been able to, and this guy just offhandedly is like, it's terribly well balanced. So like that kind of stuff happens. At least it's there in the same movie. So I think it's depending a little too much on just. I think that the entire movie just is based on the fact that other people have watched all the other movies.
Of course it is. Of course it is. I mean...
there was another point I was going to make, but then I realized that it was quite a stupid point to make, was that Infinity War is a better movie just as a standalone film.
Okay.
Like it can be like somebody who has lived under a rock and never seen any Marvel movie can still watch Infinity War and make sense of it. Because it still holds. It has a start and an end. It has a very shocking end to it.
Right.
So it's still a contained story. Whereas Endgame just stands no chance of any understanding unless you know all these characters from before.
Yeah.
There's a lot of characters, and it's pure fan service, which which is not a complaint, by the way. It's the moment I have lived for the last 10 years.
I feel like
a little overstatement, but yeah. It has been.
I think when it becomes a comic book movie, right, it's fine. I mean, if you think, okay, am I wrong in like before sunset? Like I'm going into a completely different genre, but that's what came into my head.
Yeah, wildly different.
Yeah, but the conversations they're having do relate, or I think the conversation is a lot to do with what happens in Before Sunrise.
Yeah.
So if I haven't seen Before Sunrise and if I watch Before Sunset, I don't think it's gonna make a lot of sense to me.
But the thing is, the film is also just forgetting what happened in the past. It's also it's like selective memory. It's like so like when they're like, oh, did we actually sleep together? And then one person says, oh yeah, we definitely did. The other one is like, no, that didn't happen. That was just in the book.
Yeah.
And like this is again like we can talk about that trilogy also. I think we can do an episode on just like trilogies, like famous trilogies that we like. We can have The Dark Knight, Before Sunrise, Cornetto. Yeah, I still have to see the second and the third one. Maybe even the infamous Star Wars trilogies. The trilogy of trilogies, maybe. Whatever, like we can talk about that another time. But my point is that in this one, it is just completely based on references. And at the same time, just before, I think the day before I watched Avengers, Endgame, I was reading, like the nerd that I am, I was reading Aristotle's Poetics. Okay, where he talks about everything, every drama, everything that you see, every piece of literature, poetic, is an imitation of the original. Okay. Right? In most instances, that's an imitation of real life. Okay. In this case, it's an imitation of an imitation. Right? Okay. So it's an imitation of the comic books stories. So what is happening is in this movie especially, like it is so reliant on the imitation that it is. Okay. It doesn't even try to be anything original, or it doesn't try to be anything in and of itself. It's just pure references. It's almost like it's like reading the references or like the bibliography at the end, where like, okay, these are all connected, but like it feels a little more scattered. I think for us, because we've seen all these movies, and we can relate, even like moments like Captain America in the elevator. Yeah. We are like, those are moments which call out to us. Right. But for the uninitiated, that is just a scene where like, okay, you're building up to a possible fight, but then you're copping out. For a person who hasn't seen Captain America Winter Soldier, for them that moment doesn't really hold
it has no significance.
And the entire movie holds no truth for them. Yeah. At all.
I completely agree.
Whereas Infinity War is like Infinity is still referencing a lot of characters and moments and like previous stuff that has happened, but in and of itself, it's still a story of Thanos doing his stuff and reaching his goal.
I think.
So this is my original thesis that this movie doesn't do it, but the fact that it is supposed to be like a reading that you do after doing the first movies. You don't actually go and watch the Himaim like season 9, was it? Yeah, the last episode where you see the mother. Yeah. You don't actually watch that episode without watching the
that's what I'm trying to put into words. Like for me, this feeling is basically like, you know, like a pyramid with a capstone.
Correct.
Right. So when you have just the capstone, it's not gonna make sense to you. You're just gonna say, oh, this is a tiny piece of gold, you know. But the thing is, if it is the capstone to the pyramid, and you know, once you put it in perspective, that's what makes it amazing. So I don't feel like anyone should consider Endgame as a standalone movie.
Right.
I don't think it's not meant
very
to be.
Clearly
it's not meant to be, and I don't think like it should be considered as such at all, because if you, it doesn't make sense for it to be thought of in any fashion as a standalone movie.
Correct.
So if I, the uninitiated person, if I'm just gonna be like interested in watching Endgame, I don't think it would be correct on my part to go watch it purely out of novelty.
True, correct.
Because that's not meant for me. Like there are, I think almost every other movie is meant to be that way. Just a standalone, unreferenced, self-contained piece.
Or at least that's the way things used to be 10
Yeah,
years
I
ago.
mean, again, a lot of movies still are. This particular thing is not. Most of the other movies are. So, I mean, it's okay. I think saying that this is not self-contained.
Yeah, again, I have given up that argument completely. Just even the moment after I thought of it, but because like all the payoffs are there, and
the payoffs are so good. I cannot begin to describe it. Okay.
Everything set up in every other movie is paid off here. You have superhero moments of all types, and it's on a much bigger scale than before. Like I remember talking to you about Civil War, and I was like, it doesn't feel like a Civil War. It feels like a small
skirmish.
Yeah, it's like a skirmish. It's like a little bit of a thing between like 5 people versus 5 people.
It's like a back alley fight.
Yeah, it's not even like an 11-on-11 football match. It's not like a World Cup final. It's like a thing, futsal you're playing in your society. So and then for that being called Civil War, or like Infinity War, even like where you have just like the Wakandan army fighting these people, and like the Americans were like, oh, in Avengers we were ready to nuke our own people, but now we're not going to nuke these spaceships coming from somewhere else. So it felt like the stakes were much smaller.
Right.
In this case, that moment, I think I may have jumped ahead a little bit, but the moment where all the Doctor Strange circles, the portals start coming up, and all these people come back, that too is an incredible moment. And just the fact that the camera just moves back just gives you a huge wide shot.
The scale, I like it.
I really like it because like the Wakandan army was also being transported like in space from Wakanda to this place, to this new like cleared area.
And if you notice, initially I thought it was just Doctor Strange coming in, because I think he's like the third character who shows up.
Yeah.
But you can see other wizards, because I mean they clearly, like Doctor Strange the movie shows people training to become sorcerers, and there are other sanctums around the world.
And Benedict Wong was also
exactly. I mean, there are so many other, like the followers of Caecilius or whoever that guy was. So I'm like, there are other wizards. What are they doing? Now you have those wizards coming in. Even during the battle scenes, like I remember there being like people I don't know, but with those golden glowing magic shields and everything. I think they show a shot of Wong fighting or something. I was like, cool, because they just left him alone.
And like one thing I have to give to Disney and Marvel is which I realized in Infinity War also, where like these are like some people might call it pandering to the fans moments, but they are like so powerful to the right audience person. Like I remember in Infinity War, it's the female villain. The female boss challenger from Thanos' side,
Black Order.
And she is fighting Okoye and Scarlet Witch and Black Widow and and I think somebody else also.
She's fighting. I think it's Okoye, Black Widow, and she's just fighting the two of them, and then Scarlet
Witch comes in,
shows up,
helps up. So whatever. My point is, so that happens on a smaller scale. In this, you get a bigger moment of all the female superheroes.
Okay, I have to say that moment just blew me away, because the way. Okay, I think I'm not gonna rewind. Screw it. So the moment they have this kind of a passing the parcel kind of a thing, they get that going, and then they just form this tactical triangle around him, and like, alright guys, we're doing this. It was amazing. And then you see them peel off, one of them peels off, and they get kind of like a payback. So Scarlet Witch gets her fight with Thanos, which she destroys him, and then it's every moment just so, I don't know, well done.
Just that shot of just having their Captain Marvel in the center with the Infinity Gauntlet,
Yep.
and like just Gamora and Nebula and everybody you can
Pepper
think
Potts.
of. Pepper Potts, like all of these people just are surrounding her and like being this one unit.
Yep.
It reminded me of like 300, like where they're in like the formation. And it was like, it's such a strong moment. Like for me, maybe it's not that impactful, but for like a young girl being like, oh, like look at all those badass female superheroes just fighting it out and like beating Thanos. Like that would be such a nice moment to just have, just be an inspiration. Which again, like great moments. I love all of those.
Again, I think what you said still applies. Like there are some points when you could have a slight slow motion effect. Like you could pause for like half a second more just to let it sink in, just so that you're like my eyes can go over through everyone in the scene.
Yeah,
because I felt that at a few moments, like
because there are so many characters in a
Exactly.
single frame, you have to give them
I
enough.
physically cannot just read everyone's face, and I can't just go through the entire frame.
Right.
Frame structure, I can't get it in. So that is my only issue, I think, with the entire fight scene. Like I'm flashing back to the Winter Soldier fight scene, the knife fight scene with Bucky. I really like that scene, but I think in this one, when again the one-on-one fights, I'm comparing like
Right.
Captain America versus Winter Soldier and Captain America versus Thanos, or say Iron Man versus Thanos. I don't know if this is possible, but I still feel like I didn't get 100% of what was happening, and that's okay.
Right.
I think even if I understood 80% of the action, I would be fine. But maybe there's like I need a second viewing to understand that.
I
or
think
something
it
like
definitely does, especially
Yeah.
for like a big fan. Like
Right, like
yeah.
so when Cap's shield breaks, right? I was like, that's a moment. Or when Thanos is about to like split Thor's chest open with his own axe, like that's a very mirror reversal, right? Right, you've got the going. I'm like, okay, how did we end up here? Or he just simply throws Iron Man aside, like he just flings him off like a dog. And I feel like maybe just a tiny bit of more understanding of why it came about. Like, you know, Iron Man's armor is still same or maybe better than what it was.
And the thing is, when these guys were fighting him in Infinity War, like even when the Hulk was fighting him in the very beginning, like that guy had the Power Stone. He had the Infinity Gauntlet. He was much more powerful. Now he doesn't have any stones.
He's just
on
regular
him.
Thanos. Yeah.
He's just regular Thanos, but he has like a bigger army. He has like more people, and it takes far more heroes to beat him in the end than when he had all the 6 stones and all of that, which felt a little bit like they overpowered him in this one, and maybe they were just trying to up the stakes a little bit more, I think. But in that process, it sort of diminished the power that he wielded.
Yeah, I mean, overpowering, I'm not again sure, because
I also don't like the fact that his motivation changes from balance to just being like, I need to wipe this slate clean.
But I feel like it all relates back to, since he knows he did it. So the first time until the very end, he was not sure he would finish his project or whatever task. In this thing, he knows, he has the knowledge, and I feel like this is his overconfidence or cockiness. And like, I love the fact that, you know, how knowing your future can just make, like, that makes him cocky, I feel like. So since he finds out that he did it, he's like, okay, cool, I don't need to do anything, I just need to chill because I did it once, and so like my destiny is written in stone. And that's what kind of just, you know, when he waits for everyone to come to him, and every move he makes is more just, you know, you can't stop, I am inevitable. That is his line, like he says it. So I think that's more of a thing.
But I think it still takes away from the fact that like he had a sort of justifiable motive in Infinity War.
That's true.
Whereas in this, he just becomes a mustache twirling villain again.
Yeah.
and like it feels like then it makes the hero's side more morally correct for them to be killing this guy off.
I felt I got a twinge of that emotion where I would have preferred them to beat the original morally just Thanos.
Yeah, that would have made more sense. Or maybe even just
psychopath.
make him understand, make him see the world like, oh, it hasn't prospered. Like you've just brought pain to the people who are still here and whatever, and having him realize that would probably be more it would be morally more correct, and it would also be probably more like it would make his entire quest more sort of his entire saga complete.
Yeah, I think what could have been done is, like you say, like showing him what again, like it doesn't make sense because he comes in and like logically attacks the heroes who are stealing the stones. So you don't have time for that kind of sit down round table chat kind of thing.
Correct.
But if there was any way, like they have the stones, so if they are able to get him to understand the repercussions of his actions, and whether the 5 years are enough time to understand whether the universe really was helped by his like snap or not, and turns out maybe it wasn't, and really like him going completely like angry and sad and just pissed off because he realizes that his motivation is just pointless, like even though he succeeds, it's not gonna work out. Like realizing that he's futile and the kind of anger that would generate, and him just like hulking on everyone, that would have been, I think, very satisfying, which doesn't give him something to feel like, which doesn't make me feel bad.
Correct. And it keeps him a good, well-rounded character.
Right.
Not like a thing, because it's almost like a Deus Ex Machina. Like he changes his viewpoint at the right moment for him to be defeated. So it feels a little bit forced.
But I'm okay with it. Yeah. Because I mean the other things are they're just worth it. I mean
the moments are still
they're too good.
So I think we've talked about the battle enough.
Have we? Because
are there more elements? I don't remember much else. I remember like stuff happening on the side with Gamora and Peter Quill.
Yeah, Hawkeye running with the gauntlet from the Chitauri is a pretty nice thing.
Yeah.
Nebula killing her past self. I feel like they could have just dragged that moment a little bit longer. Could have had a little bit of more emotion.
Correct.
That's something pretty serious, like intense.
I completely forgot about this.
Like she kills herself.
Her past self.
Yeah, so her past self has a gun drawn. She tells Thanos through her mic piece or whatever that I have the gauntlet, and you think, okay, this is it. But then Gamora and Nebula, the current timeline Nebula, show up, and she kills her Thanos serving self.
Okay.
Yeah, like shoots through the heart.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
Anyway,
because there's so much happening. But I think even then.
And then afterward, when I really love so they drag it to it's very cliche. They drag it to the moment of defeat. Cap's shield is broken. Again, a payoff from Age of Ultron. Love it. And
everything from Age of Ultron.
Yeah, everything.
The entire whatever his vision is, whatever Tony Stark sees, is all there.
It's all true.
Yeah, and I think in this movie also Scarlet Witch is a little underpowered than she is.
Than the last one.
Yeah. Or even when she was in Civil War.
I don't think so, because if you see her fight with Thanos, as much. She's quite up there. Like she's matching him punch for punch, and that
it's like she has this power of she could just throw that huge spaceship away.
She could rip him inside out. I feel like
Scarlet Witch. She could just get into his head and do things with him that you can't even speak of.
She could
she could do so many other things, but she doesn't do much of that. And I think that moment is kept there for Marvel.
Yeah.
And her moment coming back again was a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina. It was like very clearly, it is like in the Greek sense of Deus Ex Machina, where it's a god coming from the sky to help the mortals, which is again
who Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Not Scarlet Witch.
No.
I thought you were talking
Captain
about.
Marvel.
I thought you were talking about.
She comes in from the sky
yeah.
at the moment where everybody is almost about to be defeated,
Yeah.
and she comes at the right moment.
Yeah.
She breaks. She just
Complete.
turns the scales.
100%. But for a moment I was trying to figure out how Scarlet Witch was Deus Ex Machina. She's not.
No, she's not.
Captain Marvel.
If
Completely.
she had done the same stuff, I think it wouldn't be a Deus Ex Machina. It would be a moment. It would be a character moment.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, complete Superman entry.
You remember even in Infinity War, she had those huge circly things. Those the things that look like an excavator.
Oh yeah, those machines.
Yeah. That had like
She
huge
destroys
beams,
the machine
and she just rips it apart, like throws it around, like those massive things.
Yeah,
Here she could have taken on their entire spaceship, but she doesn't. That moment is reserved for Marvel, so she does that.
I'm like, that's okay. I think her ripping apart the entire spaceship was a little bit too much for me. I was like,
As a whole, I don't know why they introduced Captain Marvel, because the movie, this one and everything else, like, it didn't really need her that much.
Yeah.
Like, having her, like, and her arc is also explained. Like, the moment where she talks about, like, you guys are here, like, the other planets don't have you guys. Those moments are earned, but, like, even without her, like, the only reason she was there was to save Tony and bring him back. Which I think is important in the scheme of things, but
it is. I mean, but on the other hand, you could have had somebody like again, I don't know, like one of the what are they called, the Ravagers?
Yeah.
Or I mean, surely there's someone wandering around space. Like Guardians of the Galaxies tell you that much, that there's somebody out there.
Correct.
So, but again, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I'm just
Again,
not happy with her destroying the entire spaceship.
Yeah.
I'm like, tear off a bit. Or just like come to Earth and like fight on the ground. Destroying the whole thing was like, oh, okay, buddy, that's a smidge too far.
She is basically the Superman.
She is.
She just has unlimited power.
Yeah.
And again, like, I have a huge problem with Superman-like characters also. Because they just have... It's just...
They have it made.
And because if you have infinite power, you cannot compete with anything, and then when they still struggle through a fight, it feels like, oh, they're just mocking the other person.
Yeah.
Or the writer was just like, okay, like, the character is what it is. I have written an article about Superman and that stuff, but anyway, so like those kinds of characters get a little bit they're weird for the writers themselves to write about. Because it's like, if you have somebody that powerful who can... It's like, I think that's the premise of the anime One Punch Man.
Yeah.
Where he's so powerful, a single punch he can defeat anybody. So then, I haven't seen it, but from the IMDb synopsis, it's of like, how does he deal with that? Like, all his fights are over in a single punch. So, I mean, that would be very interesting to see. When somebody like Captain Marvel, like all her powers...
Yeah, what's her weakness? Like, where is she human? Where is she relatable?
Correct.
But, again...
And there's no place for her to learn anything, for her to grow, or for her... Like, for example, in every superhero movie, you have this one moment at the end where they're fighting. Even in the good Spider-Man movie from last year, where he realizes he gets to control his invisibility power and all his powers, and then so like he grows up, he learns control of his powers, and then he defeats the villain, right? Whereas for characters like Superman or Captain Marvel, for them, because they are already at the peak of it, like you just keep pushing that peak even higher, so they end up becoming completely invincible gods. Right. So for them, like, for Clark Kent to fight against Luthor makes no sense. He has to defeat what was his name? The guy.
Zod?
He has to fight Zod, and then he has to fight the Apocalypse? No. What's his name?
Not Darkseid, hold on.
Okay, then he later defeats Darkseid, or he defeats like...
He defeats Darkseid?
Not in the movies, in comic books.
Okay.
So I mean, you always have to create a super villain bigger. So you can never come back to your original, or you can't. So like Spider-Man learning another trick is a little bit different. Or like for Iron Man to upgrade his suit is okay. But when you go from Captain Marvel, when you start there,
right,
like
you don't have a lot of room
limit
to expand.
Yeah.
Or if you start expanding, then literally have no end in sight.
It's like it's also the problem again. We're going back to
okay.
DC
Let's not
go there. Let's end this Endgame.
I think but so aside from the Deus Ex Machina, the funny thing is like they could have done it without her. Like even though the moment she comes in is critical, that they need her help at that moment. Like when the ship is raining indiscriminate fire on the entire
this is before the cavalry arrives, right?
No, this is after. So
this is after.
The sequence of events is something like this. Thanos comes in, he bombs the Avengers facility. Asterisk here, because I think any good facility has its own little countermeasure thing, and a looming spaceship just should turn on like a radar. But anyway, past that, they bomb everything. Rhodey and Rabbit get trapped underground with Hulk and everything. Hawkeye gets left with the stones and the gauntlet. He runs away with it, and these three fight Thanos. Then the scene with Nebula versus Nebula happens, and that's when the cavalry arrives.
Okay.
When Captain America is just beaten and he's about to, I think he say his dialogue like I could do this all day or something.
He does it.
Does he? I don't remember. You can hear it in the offing. Like you can just see him grit his teeth. Like half a shield straps it on, whatever. And then the cavalry comes in. They start fighting properly. Who does he have to get it to? I think
they're passing it on to the.
Who are they passing it on to?
They're trying to get it to the van, to Luis's van, where they have the quantum.
Van. Right. Okay. Right. So then they give it. I think the first person to take it is Black Panther. He runs, and it felt like very much like American football to me. Like
it was
like I'm like it is, but I'm okay with it because it's visually very appealing. So they have Black Panther with a couple of shots. Then he passes it on to Spider-Man, and then Pepper Potts comes in, and they have the whole female warriors against Thanos thing. I don't remember who Spider-Man gives it to, or does he get it taken from him? And it's in the dirt, yeah.
Okay.
And then it's like anybody's game, and the whole Thanos thing happens.
Picks it up, and then Tony does that thing. Also, that moment was a little bit predictable. Did you feel that?
No, I don't think so, because I felt like this was the movie where nothing goes for Thanos, everything goes against him. And I was like, so this thing actually went his way, and I was expecting him to snap.
No, the fact that the stones are not on his... on Thanos.
Oh, the switcheroo.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Okay, for me, I think I was surprised, but then it immediately made sense because I was like, nanotech. So it made sense. So it fit in, but
I think that's the reason they had to have nanotech and Stark technology be enough to wield the stones. Yeah. Otherwise, this wouldn't work.
It wouldn't. Under any other circumstance.
Or it would get repetitive, or it would become just like it was like them trying to get the gauntlet off in Infinity War.
I feel like now that I'm thinking about it and overthinking about it, I am of the opinion it would have been better to do it in a different way. Like it is Stark technology, so like the glove could simply refuse and be like unauthorized fingerprints, first of all, as a scientist / engineer, like, I think Tony Stark should have done the thing where it's like one hit, you're done. So like after the first snap, if like once the snap works, your gauntlet should not work anymore, because just, to prevent this thing that happens.
The way the original gauntlet worked.
It didn't actually, because he used it again, remember?
But he didn't use it as a gauntlet. The gauntlet was broken, so he just used the stones themselves.
Yeah, that's...
I think.
I don't know. I don't know how he...
I think that's the way he did it. He just used the stones themselves, just raw, not wielded by the...
And I thought, snapping would break the gauntlet. Like it did, I think, mostly for the previous one.
And it gave Hulk burns.
Yeah, so I think he should have... So I was kind of surprised, like, I thought, like, Thanos puts it on, but it doesn't work because it's broken and it's used once, so, you gotta make a new gauntlet.
Nanotech, it heals itself.
It does heal itself, right? So, I don't know. I like the dialogue between Doctor Strange and Iron Man. Like, if I tell you what happens, it doesn't happen. I was like, that is so true. Thank you. It was almost a Master Oogway moment. Like, there are no accidents.
Right.
But then he tells him.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? again, it's gray. It's a gray enough message that you could say that, you know what, he doesn't do anything. He just looks deeply into Tony's eyes while he does his little tornado magic. So, but still,
Correct.
like, yeah, you sent a message. We know that. So, but it's fine. I think that was the tiniest piece of thing. Tony switches it. I like the fact that he switches it. Like, he can switch it rather. But then he used it. Why? Was there a need? I understand that he was like the armies were huge and kind of incomparable.
But like your cavalry had arrived, you had all the
Stones.
heroes. And then again it becomes like a MacGuffin, right? Like the stones are basically the MacGuffin throughout the entire series. They're what furthers the plot every time.
Right.
And in this it's again, it's fine. I think it's a Pixar rule. Like you can have by accident or like by coincidence, your hero can lose, but a hero cannot win by coincidence or like by a super powerful thing. So like the stone should not be the thing that defeats Thanos. It should be the good guys beating Thanos.
Their perseverance, grit, and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
it shouldn't be the stones turning him to dust, because then it doesn't feel, again, it's like poetic in the sense of like now he's turned to dust and all that, but it's still not it's still not like as superhero to be like, okay, anybody could have done the snap thing.
Yeah,
like
that's what I feel like.
Shuri could do that. Anybody who is more expendable could do that. It didn't have to be Tony Stark to that moment. It just had to be, it could be one of the soldiers from Wakanda.
I don't know, maybe it had to be because the kind of symmetry is set up in Infinity War.
That was set up, and it's the one of the
Doctor
14 million or whatever.
No, Doctor Strange protects Tony's life. Like that's payoff.
Correct.
But if it had to be Tony, right? I'm okay with it being just Tony Stark, just pure him.
Maybe he's using the stones to just beat him with a power stone. Throw him through the space, bringing him back and forth in time.
Exactly.
Putting him in a time loop like he did for Dormammu. Something like that. There could be so much stuff. You could change reality. You could break his mind using the Mind Stone. You could break his soul apart by using the soul.
That's what I'm going for. Things, because Hulk explicitly says snapping will lead to, side effects. But who said you have to snap? You have Infinity Stones, and you've seen Thanos, like, okay, Tony Stark has seen Thanos use Infinity Stones individually.
Correct.
He, like, you do the moon thing, throw the moon, or make portals, or do anything, use individual stones.
Exactly.
Just like freeze Thanos in time, wipe his memory, just anything, just individual stones. And you could have like just a one-on-one kind of battle where Thanos' Black Order goes to protect him, and it's just like I don't know, you could kind of set it up like people are fighting, but then everyone stopped because Thanos is about to lose. Tony Stark has the gauntlet, and Stark is just giving it all he has, like each individual stone, like boom, 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 reality, mind, time, space, and just one after the other he's firing stuff.
In front of him, like reality stone, all of his army becomes into bubbles. He can do
like his Black Order takes blows, like it happened on Titan, like when Thanos did something, like somebody steps in, or like how Doctor Strange stepped in to save Tony.
Correct.
So like one by one, his lieutenants are taking the blows.
Correct.
And by the end, it's just Thanos, no one else remaining, and he's just standing there with, completely defeated. And Tony Stark still has the gauntlet, because he doesn't snap. He's just there. And now you have you could have like a dialogue between them.
And it would make more sense for him to die because of something that is characteristically Tony Stark. Something like just him doing an arc reactor explosion. Something around him and containing that through whatever power he has, and doing something that is more like Iron Man rather than like a snap is something that anybody has done. Like 3 people have done it in the movie.
And I feel like it takes away the significance of the first snap. I mean the Hulk snap.
Correct.
Which is, in my opinion, more important than the second snap because of it brought everyone back.
Correct.
So why would you have 2 snaps? Like a snap is a singularity.
Correct.
Let it be singular. And you have precedence. You have him using individual stones. Go for it. Have fun with this. Show us the power of each stone.
Exactly.
Anyway, not a bad movie. great movie.
When we make a remake of this movie 20 years down the line.
Let me fire up Microsoft Paint.
Okay, so there was one. So now that the story has ended, what do you think? Like, the thing that they do with Cap is quite nice. The fact that he goes back for reinserting the stones back into the timeline,
Right.
and he stays, and he comes back as an old person, which was quite nice. And the fact that he doesn't just die out; he's old,
Yeah, he comes back.
so he can be like a consultant guy, like somebody like
Yes.
these guys go like an Odin figure, like a
He's-
father figure.
yeah.
These guys go for advice,
Yeah.
like strategic advice or whatever. Like that would be cool. Just like the moral heart of it,
Right.
the original founder of
Exactly.
the Avengers, which would be nice. And I also liked again him passing on his mantle to Sam.
I think that was a very nice moment. I think this moment was predicted a long time ago. I think when the original comics had Falcon take the mantle.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
The Falcon has become Captain America for a while. Bucky has become Captain America.
they've
for a
switched
while.
the roles.
That has happened a lot of times. I also like the fact that Bucky was there and he was standing nearby and he was watching that happen.
He kind of pushes Sam to just like, this is your moment kind of thing.
And it would be great to see Sam like with his wings and the shield and everything.
Oh, I want to
Good
see
power.
that. I want to see that. Okay. I think I might go watch the next Captain America film now. I think I have to see it.
And what do you think happens to Iron Man's battle? Does it pass on to just Pepper Potts or to Rhodey, or does Cassie take it over later? Morgan, his daughter.
Again, I think going by the timeline, like considering the next movie is a Spider-Man one where he's again same age roundabouts, like so they haven't time shifted a whole lot.
Correct.
I think it would be nice.
But the Iron Man movie can come in like 3-4 years later.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but I think for now it gets dissolved, like decentralized. So I think that would be the best thing, because having a direct replacement to Tony would kind of call for comparisons. Like no matter how much you do something, everybody's gonna be like, oh, he's the Iron Man replacement. How does he deal? How does he compare to the first one?
Correct.
Instead of that, if you just decentralize the power and like make his dream come true, like the suit of armor around the world thing, or you just have all of his I don't know, holograms or his software just like open source to people. Like people are using his tech to build their own protective devices.
I'm guessing that in a way Black Panther would become the de facto Iron Man version 2.
Like the Avengers leader.
Yeah.
I think
I don't mean like Avengers leader or anything.
a global entity.
Yeah, like just somebody who has that kind of control of who's the tech guy, the armor guy, and who's leading from the front guy.
I think in that you could split those off. So the tech guy would probably be Shuri. Like
I think she would play a bigger role in the future movies.
So you just specialize that. The leader guy, I could see Black Panther doing it. I think in the comics he does it because he's part of the Illuminati. So it's like him, Professor X, Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, Tony Stark as well. I think, I forget, but so like the secret thing, they have that. So Black Panther doing that would be a very nice thing, where he's also like he's doing the global cooperation of Wakanda and everything.
Right.
But at the same time, he's kind of like a spokesperson or the shot caller for the Avengers. He's like, you know what, this is what we're doing, and I think like he's proven his judgment as a king and whatnot. Yeah, that's good enough. Because they show Thor going away.
As Guardians of the Galaxy. Ooh, that's so nice.
I cringed at that one.
But that's an actual comic series.
Is it really?
Yeah, as Guardians of the Galaxy is an actual legit. I think it was a limited run or whatever, but it is a legit comic book.
I want a short film.
Yeah, definitely. I think the next Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because I think they are making one. And James Gunn is back as the director, so there will be an as Guardians of the Galaxy. That would be great. By the way, that shot was very, very nice.
The funeral
scene
my
was
God,
nice.
that got me like
Single shot.
That literally got me. that was the point where I actually thought I might cry, and I almost did, but because like when Tony dies, it's very emotional. Peter Parker, and so they've got
and
every
Pepper Potts also saying
exactly
that you can go, we can handle it.
So it's very emotional, but that didn't touch me as much as the funeral. The shot of the arc reactor on the wreath, and
proof that Tony Stark has a heart.
Yes, and then the people just standing there mourning. They got the kid from Iron Man 3, I don't remember.
They got everybody, and I like the fact that it's a single shot. And
Right.
it takes its time. It happens very slow. It lets it absorb.
Exactly.
It lets the entire thing, the emotions absorb, and for you to see all the characters.
Exactly.
I think the kid from Iron Man 3, he was the only one who was like, we hadn't seen him for a very long time, so I couldn't recognize him at first, and I was like, oh shit, that's the kid.
Yeah.
And but I like the fact that you see everybody. Also, I guess it's one of the most expensive shots of the entire series, because you had to get all these 30 big name stars.
Yeah.
And you also get Nick Fury just standing over.
I like that
seeing
too.
everything.
It
Captain Marvel being there, and everybody was there, it was a nice moment. That was a nice way to end the series, and it also almost gives like closure.
I feel like there were two people missing from this shot. Like the ones currently, I don't mean like Black Widow. Like she died. Sorry, she can't be there.
And I don't think she got enough of a moment.
That's a different thing. But at the funeral, I feel like I really wanted Agent Hill. More than her, Agent Coulson. Like, we know he's
alive, correct.
Just have him in one of the Avengers movies, please.
Correct.
Him with Fury, because in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if I'm not wrong, at a certain point he is the director. I don't know what happens, like whether he passes it on to someone else or something. I haven't watched it thoroughly enough. But he is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. because Fury just retires, right? During Age of Ultron, he gets the helicarrier, but he isn't there as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Correct.
He's just ex-director, I guess. So, like those things, I think
Phil Coulson should have been there.
Phil Coulson, I think there's more emotional investment in his character than Agent Hill's for me.
Correct.
And fine, you don't have him in the whole story, in the plot. That's completely fine. Like,
I also
Nick
like
Fury isn't there.
Yeah.
But come on.
I like the end of it also, like just Morgan and Happy Hogan. They're just sitting here talking about cheeseburgers. That was very nice. That was a good moment to end on.
They did it very, very well.
Especially because in Iron Man, the first thing he does after coming back from the Middle East, he's like, I need cheeseburgers.
Yep.
Which is, that was a nice moment. And like, I feel again, like Happy Hogan is like another character who has been sort of relegated to like a B character, like somebody who isn't very relevant, where I think he should have become more like Alfred from Batman, like that kind of a character. Jarvis and all that, but like he should be like Happy Hogan should be the guy who's still around. He's still Iron Man's bodyguard on some level.
But the
way he's in the first two movies, he's like a big part of the movies.
But they clarified this in the third one, where he says that I am an employee of Stark Industries.
Yeah, and then he becomes like the security chief for Stark Industries.
So he's now like an assistant / bodyguard to Pepper.
Correct. But I feel like when he comes back, he's in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Right.
He's in that a lot, but he's almost like he's not treated very well. Like I don't like the way
he should have been more important considering how close he is to Tony Stark.
Yeah, even the way Tony Stark treats him is not particularly nice. Like that's not the way you treat a friend or whatever. Even Tony Stark treating somebody, that felt a little off.
Okay.
Anyway, I just like Jon Favreau as a character.
Jon Favreau is pretty great. It's
anything else you have? Anything else in terms of epilogue or what maybe character arcs that weren't fleshed out? I haven't exhausted all my notes. Our entire Marvel ramble has been longer than Endgame, I think.
It might be, but that's okay.
It would be good to see Big Hero 6 come again. Like a Big Hero 6 Part 2. or like in some way if
Wait,
they
are you suggesting a crossover, or are you just suggesting a sequel to Big Hero 6?
a sequel and also a crossover. I would love to see how they managed to do that. Something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or like was that the Looney Tunes movie?
Space Jam.
Space Jam, yeah, something like that. So where you have like a little bit of and just mixing and matching different animation styles to this, because they have done that. That has been proven in Spider-Man and into the Spider-Verse.
So I was gonna go off of that
Something
tangent
like that.
and suggest, instead of doing Space Jam like something like a movie, one of like Big Hero 6 gets the Avengers, and hey, they have all these stones, right? So maybe their reality changes, and they're suddenly in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a nice crossover. But
That is already like a different universe, right? Because they are in like San Francisco.
Yeah.
So it is already a different
It is,
universe.
exactly.
So I think that would be cool to see how like they could bring that universe into this. Maybe it's a universe which is animated, like whose reality is animated.
So that's what I was saying. So like in Into the Spider-Verse, you have Spider Pig.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have the black and white Spider-Man. Like that, you have in the Big Hero universe, you've got Avengers, and get the voices done by the same cast.
The future of this saga, the future of this enterprise is infinite. Pardon the pun. So I think there's a lot more they can do, a lot more they should, and if they have any issues, they can just hit us up. I am like, you can email me, you can message me, you could do whatever. So anyway, if Kevin Feige, you're listening to this, if you need any help figuring out the future of your saga, I'm free for. I'm not free, but like you will pay me, but I'm free in terms of time. I have some more ideas that I have kept to myself, hoping for the future when I get to make my own films.
My ideas are just fan fiction, so they will probably stay in my head.
I mean,
to be discussed on maybe further discussions.
Yes.
But I think I am done with the Marvel.
He's done. Don't hire him. Hire me for writing your future films.
And I think unless there's like a short TV series on
short films,
maybe on the thing, or like short films, definitely. I wouldn't mind watching those, but for feature length films, I think they would have to be pretty spectacular. Otherwise, I am not going to. I just don't feel compelled anymore. Like,
okay,
because Age of Ultron was the one, you remember, set up the Infinity Stones when Thor has that whole vision.
Correct.
Pardon the pun. But he sees the stones and is like, oh my god, this is the thing. So they've paid it off. They're done with that.
The saga is complete.
Yeah,
I feel like before they start setting up the future saga, they should take some time. They should give it a moment. They should give, like, I think from Avengers was 2012, right. Iron Man was 2008. So they gave it a good 4 years to set up that. Right. So from now they can take another 4 years. In 2024 you can come up with the first like Avengers or whatever other movie you want after this to set up.
Collab.
Till then you can make your own. You can make your Disney Fox movies. You can make your Deadpool movies. You can make your Fantastic Four movies. Bring them into this into your fold, because I think that would be a very, very cool universe to see.
I want to see that with like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man collaboration, or X-Men. With
I love the X-Men.
Like Deadpool with Thor or something.
But as long as they respect the X-Men
characters.
movies that have stayed before.
Yeah, please don't erase.
Don't remake them.
We're tired of rewriting canons.
Yeah.
Here, Deadpool.
Yeah. Don't remake them. And we don't need another origin story for Wolverine. We've had 3.
I think
Wolverine, I think, is a good character to just
not
remain the way he has. Just
I feel
dead.
like the current new X-Men who, like, I think with is his name Charles McAvoy? James McAvoy.
James McAvoy.
Yes, I was so close.
Mhm.
But with him, Michael Fassbender, and the new, I think after First Class, the cast that they have, I think with them kind of combining into the new universe would be pretty
That would
nice.
be nice, yeah.
Because then you already have a sense of continuation from the X123 movies with Patrick Stewart. So there's a nice little
Everything is tied together.
Sort of.
That can be brought together. That would be very, very nice. Also, make a good Fantastic Four movie, please. Please.
I saw a couple of fan, like Photoshop posters on, I think, Instagram or something. And that had John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic with the white strip of hair.
Interesting.
And it actually, okay, I will look for that photo and we will add it to the show notes. But I liked the Fantastic Four that they had.
Interesting.
And in that photo, at least, I don't know if it's from The Quiet Place or if it's from The Office or whatever, but he has that wise kind of look that Mr. Fantastic should have.
Yeah.
And I really like that poster. I was like, you know what, if this is the cast,
That's interesting.
that would be nice. And I think they have quite a few characters to explore.
They have They have a huge gallery of characters. They have especially very, very good villains. And one of my most favorite villains is a Fantastic Four villain, which has been in 2 Fantastic Four movies, and they've both been terrible. Dr. Von Doom.
Yeah.
Dr. Victor Von Doom is an amazing character, and I feel like where I think the DC movies are going. Again, we can talk about the DC movies another time.
Right.
But what I'm seeing is they're making standalone movies for the most time. They've realized that they're not good at the cinematic game.
Yeah.
So they've made a Shazam movie. They've made Aquaman. They've made they're making a Joker movie. So I think from the Joker forward, it's what's his name? Something Todd. Is
Jason Todd.
No. I mean the director of the movie.
No, I don't know this.
Somebody's making the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, and he's not Jason Todd. He's a different Joker.
Okay.
And so he is. So I think from there on, where DC is making these villain movies. Or they had Suicide Squad to some extent.
Right.
They can actually make for Marvel also. They can actually make especially for Victor Von Doom is a character where you can just have a character study on him. The way you had for the Infinity War was like a story for Thanos.
Right.
I think Victor Von Doom is an amazing character which can hold a movie together. Just his origin story and everything that would be that would be a nice.
I would actually like to watch it because Victor Von Doom has been portrayed as a very intelligent guy,
and he is. He's a genius on the level of Dr. Reed.
Yeah.
He is a king of a place like Wakanda, Latveria. So he's one of my favorite villains, and he is one. Again, if Marvel you're listening, I have some script treatments already for this character, so please feel free to reach out because he's actually a very nice character to have on his own movie,
right?
And then you can bring him together in your larger cosmic scale movies later on, and he can be a villain for anybody who's as powerful as him. So you can, and they have Silver Surfer, they have Galactus, they have a huge gallery of good villains.
They have the entire Hulk family, so to speak. The Red Hulk, the Grey Hulk, She-Hulk. Am I missing anyone? I think there might be 1 or 2 characters I missed. But yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. I have lots of ideas. We have discussed, and we will continue to discuss these ideas further.
Yep.
For all the movies, for all possible sequels, and I am an aspiring filmmaker, so please reach out to me. I'm sure Mihir has a lot of ideas to pitch in. He has been a co-writer for me before.
I have a lot of ideas, but
he's not going to watch any superhero movies anymore. So
I didn't say superhero movies. If they make Big Hero 6 Part 2, I am there. First day, first show, first seat.
Okay.
But Marvel, I'm out. Most of them, again, with an asterisk, I'm out. So yeah.
I mean, he'll come for the movies that I direct.
Yeah, I will. I'll have to.
Look at me being so ambitious, but cool. Reach out to us. For the rest of you, this is a time to end. We're doing an outro. So it has been good discussing all of this stuff. We will have more episodes of a bit of both. This podcast that we've started, because we just discuss this stuff randomly anyway, and we are like, why not keep it? I've always thought of like, we have this conversation for like 3 hours, and then we're like, oh, we should have recorded this because there's a lot of stuff in it. So here it is. We will not just talk about Marvel movies and Disney movies.
I was going to mention, safe to say that this will be a rare occasion when we deep dive into movies or Marvel movies specifically.
Correct. We will talk about everything. We will talk about science because Mihir is a science student. He has big things in the future. He is by the time this episode gets out, he will have become an engineer. And so that stuff is there. I have a little bit of background in science, so and I love that in general. So we will talk about science, we'll talk about art, we'll talk about literature. We'll try to we won't do like reviews and stuff, but we will do just like stuff that we have found and we have found to be cool. Our thoughts on random stuff. I have been wanting to make an episode on politics. Mihir is not that interested in it, are you?
I am hardly interested in
politics. I am very, very interested in it. So I will try to coax him into doing an episode on that. And suggest whatever ideas you would like for us to discuss. And anything, whatever it is, we will even do some research if time permits.
Basically, we know a little bit about
some
things.
Yeah. A little bit about a lot of stuff and a lot of stuff about a little things. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and give us all kinds of feedback. This has been a bit of both, and we hope that you will continue to listen to our unregular podcast.